Good evening and welcome to TByrd Live. I'm your host, Trina Bird, and tonight we have Mr. Peter Michael, a financial professional expert, all the way from Burbank, California. So stay tuned. It's going to be a great show, and I'm looking forward to everyone joining us in just a few minutes. So, welcome, Peter Michael. How is the weather out there in Burbank, California? Cali.
It's 81 degrees and sunny right now, but a little windy. So we're not used to
Little
that.
windy?
Yeah, a little windy.
California. Wow. Well, I am so excited to have you join us all the way from California. It's what, about 4 o'clock there, opposed
It
to 7 o'clock here.
It is. I'm
And
very happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate you accepting. And I'm looking forward to the valuable information that you are going to provide our viewership with. And for years in my business, I've always tried to educate people about finances. Now, people may not think that that's a component that you may find in computer classes because that's really basically our foundation. We teach technology programming in Microsoft Office 365, Google Workspace, QuickBooks, things like that. But what I have always made measured our actual success from our training program is when we get to Excel to teach them how to do personal budgets opposed to just a professional budget when you're an employee, and as well as teaching them when they get to QuickBooks how you can actually manage your finances using QuickBooks on a personal level as opposed to a professional level as well. But whatever method that you use, you need to be aware and very um, up to date and current when it comes to what money is going in and what money is going out. And you're going to give us a whole different perspective, something that is important to me as the age of 65 and having semi retired, as well as maybe that young person who needs to plan for retirement. So thank you again. And you have the floor.
Well, at the beginning of the show, you called me an expert, and I'd like to just stick to financial professional. if, if
Okay.
I was an expert, I'd be able to tell you what the market's going to do tomorrow, Friday, next week, and for the rest of our lives. But you touched on something that my wife and I continue to talk about, and that's financial literacy, which really isn't taught the way it should be taught, the way we think it should have been taught as we were growing up, and even today. Um, it's just amazing how so many young people are just not aware of what they could be doing and what they should be
Should
doing
be doing, yeah.
in order to better prepare themselves for adults our age, your age, my wife's age. And you said, we all need to know what money is coming in, what money is going out, but most importantly, what money is going to be there when we're ready to retire.
Mm-hmm.
Um, as a licensed uh, as a licensed life agent, there is an endless need for what we offer.
Now, is that licensed life agent? Is that, and that's the really, really great part I wanted to speak about. Is that a fairly new term, or is that something that that category's been around for years, but mainly financial people were only ones that kind of recognized it? Is that how is
Yeah,
that growing, and where did it come from?
it's been around. A licensed life agent can sell life and health products. Depending on what you're licensed to do, you can also do P&C, property and casualty, health, group health, and then if you want to play the market / gamble, you can get your securities license and invest, monies in the variable sector.
You know what? You
Um,
just said something very important, Peter. My son is heavily into stocks. Not heavily, but he has a pretty nice sized portfolio. His 12-year-old son, my grandson, has a very nice portfolio. But you know what? He needs to be, what did you call it? Be licensed in,
oh, a licensed life agent.
no, not licensed life agent. You said it was in regards to the stock. You needed to have some kind of credential in it.
Um, Securities licensed.
Securities license. Is that an everyday kind of certification you can get for like your everyday person, or getting that you would have to have college and all that stuff to go with it?
Um, Stockbrokers, money managers, anybody that deals with stocks and bonds must have a securities license. And there's about 4 different kinds.
Oh, okay, so that's totally something different. All right. I
Yeah.
was thinking just so he doesn't lose money, he would um, get some kind of credential that would allow him to better know the market, better know the whole process. All right, I just
He should talk to one of us that can put him. Look, if you have enough money where you can gamble, play the market, and it's essentially like going to Vegas.
mm-hmm.
You're playing the market, you're playing the tables. Um, it's okay if you want to, if you want to have an account which is variable, but you have to understand when the market's up, you're going to be up. When the market's
Yeah, it's
down,
down. You're gonna be down.
your the value of your money is going to be down, and you have to make up for that loss. But if you have enough money um, to securely put in a vehicle, which will, and we offer some of these vehicles. They're called annuities. A fixed index annuity has a zero floor, meaning when the market goes down, the value of your money will not go down. And when the market goes up, you'll experience a percentage of those gains. Not all of the gains. You can't have your cake and eat it too. But annuities are a great vehicle to protect your money and to grow your money and to secure retirement. Some annuities allow you to attach an income rider, which means you'll withdraw income when you're ready to in your retirement, which can supplement either another annuity, a pension, your Social Security, and that really is and should be part of the retirement plan. What are all the variables that I'm working with when I do retire that I can compile and budget so me and my spouse can live.
Actually, my son just texted me. He said, "Ask him about long-term investing." What are your thoughts on that?
Long-term investing. Did he specify?
No, I'll text him. But what's your initial? Well, he's listening, so specify, my son.
Long-term investing. There's there. Well, to me, long-term investing is life insurance and life insurance products. Which, when I was growing up, life insurance was simply and only synonymous with death, because we weren't given the education of the various life insurance products that so many companies offer, which allow you to grow cash accumulation and grow wealth for retirement, such as an index universal life policy, which when when Reagan was in the White House, these kind of policies were only available for people that had money.
Oh, okay.
And there was no cap on how much interest you could make until the government saw the rich getting richer, and they put a regulation on it. But that's a for long term. If you start one at a young age in your 20s, in your 30s, depending on what your monthly premium is, which to me is a monthly investment, 20, 30, 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
That interest, that compound interest, which your money is growing with, can be significant. And those
It's
kind of
like your
vehicles,
mortgage. Your mortgage interest is compound interest, and that's significant every over 30 years.
yep,
I
yep.
definitely understand where you're at with that. He's saying that holding stock for more than 12 years, and then we're going to get back to that insurance investment because people are going to be shocked by what you tell me about that. But he's saying holding stock for 12 or more years. Do you suggest that, or what are your feelings on that?
Just depends on the company. Um, I'm not big into stocks. I do have some, but I really am not licensed to give out any kind of advice or
Advice, okay.
opinions for stocks and bonds because I don't have that particular license.
Okay. But you do know about some of these big name stars who are doing exactly what you just said, investing in insurance. Tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about who they are and why they're doing it.
Well, let me backtrack and tell you how I got in the business. My wife and I, all of a sudden the pandemic hit. We actually got married. Our 2-year anniversary was yesterday. So
Congratulations.
thank you very much. 2 days after we got married, lockdown took place. 2 days after that, she was laid off as a medical assistant. So we're both looking at each other, what are we going to do? And of course, me being the man of the house, I said, don't worry, we're okay. Everything will be fine.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because I had 3 to 6 months of emergency money in case something were to happen. And ironically, less than 50% of Americans have emergency money in case a pandemic or a tragedy takes place to last for 3 to 6 months. So if anyone's taking notes, it's one thing you all should do is establish an emergency fund, which will allow you to survive and get by for 3 to 6 months. Most people, I'm sure, have it now since the pandemic. Anyway, 2 years backtrack, she thought about switching careers. So she became a licensed life agent before me. She said, hey, we should talk about this and look into it. I found out that different celebrities were in the business, and celebrities, I'm talking about Jay-Z, Will Smith, Robert Downey Jr., Gene Simmons, and Marshall Falk, who used to play in the NFL. And after doing some research, I basically said, well, and I've been a sports guy most of my life, if this business is good enough for Marshall Falk, it should be good enough for me.
Exactly.
And at the time I connected with him, and he said, here's my cell, call me anytime. After I passed my license, I sent him a text message and said touchdown 28 was his number. So yeah, a lot of celebrities are in the insurance business because they see the value of the return. Insurance companies will never go out of business. Most insurance companies that we deal with, and we deal with 100 or more carriers, they're worth millions, if not billions of dollars, which is why a life insurance product is the safest vehicle to put your money. The bank is the worst place to put your money. If you have a large amount of money in the bank, it's the worst place to have your money. If you have money in a 401k, which is just sitting there, that's also not a good place. Believe it or not, $17 trillion is sitting in people's 401ks, earning them only 1% to 2%. 2% if they're lucky. Most of it is earning 1% interest.
And that's the reason why you say banks are the worst place.
It's, they claim to be FDIC insured, but that doesn't mean your money's protected. That was something the government came out to give people good faith of putting their money in the bank. But the truth is, if a bank were to close tomorrow, if your bank were to close tomorrow, they would have up to 10 years to give you your money back.
What?
And if I'm not mistaken, each person who has an account in that particular bank is only insured up to $250,000. So if you had an IRA, say, with a well-known bank, which was worth more than $250,000, you're only insured to get back $250,000.
And they have up to 10 years to give you back your money.
Mm-hmm.
I heard a little scuttlebutt, and I would tell students this all the time, but never really looking into the depth of it. But there were, and the only reason I knew about this is because a colleague of mine, when Katrina hit in New Orleans, and all those people lost their homes and all of that, information on the street amongst these homeowners and just everyday people, because this guy I knew, he went down there to rebuild.
Mm-hmm.
And when I would see him or talk to him, he'd give me updates on how things were going. And he said so many people could not get their money out of the bank. And one of the things that the banks did in New Orleans was require every customer to show proof, a bank statement, and this was kind of before everybody was automated with bank statements. Everything was became paperless.
Mm-hmm.
They had to have one of the books, especially for the savings accounts. They had to bring in that book. Well, all of that got lost in the.
Yeah. So how are you going to prove it?
How are you going to prove it? And so a lot of people lost money in the banks. There was no obligation for the bank. Part of their requirement is that you have to prove you have it, and they couldn't. So they kept all of that money. And I would tell students that as an example, what I'm saying, take pictures of your property, take pictures of your bank statements. I'm telling them all this,
Mm-hmm.
but it's ironic until you just said it. Now I'm thinking, wow, whoa.
I'll give you another example.
I would tell them that, but I didn't think of the volume of it.
I'll give you another example. There are some of the. I'm not going to say any names.
No, don't.
Or
please.
companies, on the show. But there are some big banks that also have a finance division where they can set you up with an individual retirement account, an IRA. A dear friend of mine who I went to high school with, and he's also living here in California. He's been out here much longer than me. And I said, Henry, what do you have? He goes, well, I've got a Roth IRA, and I've also got another IRA with, again, I'm not going to say the name of the bank, but its initial WF. And I said, let me take a look at it. So I took a look at it, and I said, Henry, have you looked at this statement lately? And he's like, not really, which is another thing that amazes me. It amazes me how many people we talk to do not either look at their statements or talk to their financial advisor or their money manager or anyone handling their money. Everybody who's listening and watching, you all should know where your money's going, what your money's doing, and you should all check your statements on a monthly basis. If you haven't done that, that's your homework assignment. Do it tonight, do it tomorrow. So getting back to Henry, he said, why? What's wrong? I said, and it was a traditional IRA, which means it's tax deferred. The difference between that and a Roth IRA is a Roth is totally tax free. I said, Henry, you're making 0.40%. It says right here. He's like, really? I'm like, you're not even making 1% on your money. I'd like to know what financial professional at any bank would say, Mr. Henry, this is a great vehicle for your retirement. They basically should say, you're not going to make money on your money, but we are.
Wow.
And again, the initials of the bank were WF. And after I saw that statement, I always put a T in between those letters because I couldn't believe what I was seeing.
Yeah, I get you.
So
Wow.
what I did with him
Wow.
immediately was I transferred it to a fixed index annuity. And I told him he's a couple years older than me. So his maximum contribution for either one, it doesn't matter how many IRAs you have, the maximum contribution at our age, because we're over 50, is $7,000 per year. So I put it in one of the top annuity companies in the country. I said, just leave this one alone. Let this grow. From now on, your $7,000 contribution should go into your Roth. So let that nest egg continue to get bigger, and it will, if you keep putting $7,000 every year in that, as opposed to $7,000, or even splitting it up in the traditional.
And in comparison to stock, what difference would you see? So, for example, my son, he puts let's say he puts $1,000 a month into stock. If he would have put it into that IRA, would he see the same amount of growth, or it'd be slower?
Well, it wouldn't be in an IRA, because $1,000 a month would come to $12,000 a year, and because he's under 50, the most he could put in would be $6,000. So for that kind of vehicle, he would have to get a flexible annuity, which means he can contribute monthly, quarterly, yearly. He can add money. The annuity that I put my friend Henry in is a 7-year contract. It's averaging over 10% right now. Well, before inflation kicked in a couple weeks ago. But when the market goes down, as it's been going down as of late, the value of his money has not gone down. So anybody who's in stocks and bonds, depending on what you're in, anybody in a variable account right now, you risk losing the value of your money.
Now, Peter, what about someone like me, my husband, and a lot of my friends? We're 64, 65. We are at the point where we've had our Social Security kick in, and some of us are getting a pension, and all of that has to go directly, of course, into your bank account. They don't send you out any paper checks. I'm nervous now because, if I'm getting, I'm getting my check, he's getting his check. Some point in time at, a certain time of the month, all of our finances are in that one place. And what if something goes belly up? I can't wait 10 years to get my money back.
Well,
is there an alternative way, or have they strapped us to where, the federal government, that's the only way they send it to you?
Well, just because they make an automatic draft into your bank account doesn't mean you have to leave it there, as we know. Just to backtrack about Social Security. Social Security allegedly is supposed to dry up in the year 2034. Now, will the government allow that to happen? Probably not.
Mm-hmm.
But, kids that are in their 20s and 30s today, there's a good chance it's not going to be around when they become our age or retirement age.
Or if it is, it's probably going to be pennies.
Correct. So one piece of advice I can give to people your age and your husband's age is to try and maximize your Social Security. And what I mean by that is when you're 65, ask yourself, go through your budget. Can I wait till I'm 70 to start pulling it? Because if you can, you may end up getting yourself $400 or $500 more a month. It's really something to think about.
Yeah, I remember when I was in my 30s, and you might remember this too, they would send you out a statement in your 30s of what you would get when you were 60 or 70. No,
Mm-hmm.
actually, no, I'm sorry. What you would get when you're 55. That was the retirement age, which has now become 70.
Mm-hmm.
There
So
wasn't
yeah,
any 60 or 62 and 70. It was just straight up 55. So now they've got these different levels trying to give you, that but in and of itself makes you wonder, well, what will it be 15 years from now?
and the reason for that is because life expectancy did what?
Growing up. Mm-hmm.
Everybody started living longer, which
Yeah,
is
because they
why,
expect you to die at 40. So if you live to be 55, there's only a few people. Well, now that 70 is, now it's 70, 80, and 90.
yeah, and that's really the one of the main reasons why Social Security is running out of money because everybody's living longer.
But yeah, definitely. So let's change gears a little bit. Tell us about your this certification, and for someone that's unemployed, has an interest in insurance, wants to really get in a career that you don't have to really worry about somebody saying, well, the doors are closing, we can't afford to continue to operate, we're laying you off, blah blah blah. Because like you said, it's people don't everybody's going to go, and so insurance is going to be it. Everybody's going to need medical, all kinds of insurances. What would you encourage them to do? Like maybe a high school graduate that doesn't want to go to college, but is got great, can sell, has great experience in customer service, loves that whole industry, and wants to start a career that's going to last them a little bit.
Well, here's the thing about what we offer: the need for our services will always be in demand, always. Which is why insurance companies will never go out of business.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's always going to be a need for annuities, retirement vehicles, policies, contracts, life insurance. You know, as my father said, as soon as you get married, get life insurance. Because there's only one reason to get life insurance, and that's because you love somebody. So, someone who's unemployed right now, this is a great time to get in the industry. Because when COVID hit, insurance companies were they were in demand because there was that panic of if you get sick, what's going to happen? Are you going to live? Or are you going to die? Unfortunately, so many people passed away, and a large percentage of those people didn't have coverage, which is why you saw so many GoFundMe or trying to pay for the final expenses uh, because there was no death benefit with anything that they had because they didn't have anything. But there's always going
Right.
to be a need and a demand for what we have. I mean, right now, uh, baby boomers are retiring at an astronomical rate, 10,000 a day, and 11,000 people every day for the next 9 to 10 years are going to be turning 65.
Mm-hmm.
So, of all these baby boomers retiring, believe it or not, 80% are insecure about their retirement. Because why? You can outlive your plants, but you can't outlive your money. Someone who is, in their 80s, possibly 90s, if they don't have guaranteed lifetime income established, how are they going to survive? I mean, that's really what you have to ask yourself. And this could be a grandparent or a parent of some of the people that we're reaching today. You can get a loan for just about anything in life: car, home, college, but you can't get a loan for retirement. So it's a great time to go into business, especially if you're young. If you're young, again, if you're interested in learning the business, there's a 52-hour course that you need to take before you become licensed. You take the test. If you pass the test, you become licensed, and then you find out where you want to land. My wife and
who administers the training program? Can you tell us a little bit about? Let me
there's
see if I can post. Okay,
there's a couple different ones out there. I think Exam FX is one online company where they provide the training, and again, it's 52 hours. You have to do it chapter by chapter, and I got to be honest with you. When I took the test and when I prepared for it, that was the most studying I had done since college. But the information is invaluable.
ExamFX.com?
I believe so. But Exam FX, as in FX, the TV channel.
Oh, okay, great. And so that's a 52, you said 52 hours?
Yeah.
Hours. Okay. So little probably around 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Is virtual or in person?
It's virtual.
Oh, okay, even better.
It depends on you. Some people, I've known some people who do it in 3 days or less than a week.
But the average time, if you do it, a couple hours, but you can actually take it in, as fastly paced as you would like.
Mm-hmm.
And does that prepare you for what? It prepares you for what type of certification?
The life and health.
Life and health. And is that like a boot camp type training to pass the test, or just to teach you about the industry, and then you have to study for the test, or take like a sample test and learn it on your own? How's that part?
It's both.
Okay.
The chapters are pretty lengthy. There's practice tests at the end of each chapter, and then there's multiple practice exams, and the final exam is 150 questions, and there are practice exams of 150 questions that you can take before you take the test, which will better prepare you.
And do people like yourself who've actually passed the test and are licensed, has experience and all that, do you provide any service to people that may need a little bit of extra help, or any kind of mentorship or coaching, things like that? Do you guys do that?
It's funny you ask, because my wife and I are actually with two different companies. Her company provides a lot of training to prepare you leading up to the test. I'm with a company now where our main objective is to just produce, meaning educate people, sell, and get them in the right vehicles. But
so the website that they see on the screen, apex.agent.com, all of your information is up there for the extra help, how to start, all that?
Yeah, I can direct anyone who's interested in either becoming a producer like myself, or establishing your own agency. And
oh, okay.
That's a branch of the tree that my wife my wife's company deals with.
All right, so you could get the whole gamut. Not only find a job, get the experience, but then eventually or simultaneously, if you have previous business experience, start your own practice, so to
Correct.
speak.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Which
Wonderful.
can yield you, if you're successful, passive residual income, which would be with you for the rest of your life. I tell younger people that are thinking about getting in this industry, I said, if money, and if you say it to younger people this way, you get their attention. There's no other industry in America that produces more millionaires. Number one. Number two, at your age, someone in their 20s, for you to get some of your friends and relatives around your age to invest in good products for retirement, for their families, or just for themselves as individuals, you're going to have those clients for the rest of your life. 20, 30, 40 years or more.
Exactly. What else comes to my mind is there are not too many industries that you can invest in with, and we're going to talk about how much all this will cost them, but you can invest in your future career and then at the same time be building your retirement fund yourself from being in business. Most business people, when they get to the end of the line, if they haven't made some smart decisions along the way with just making sure that they paid into Social Security. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of us go into business and we think that taking a loss is great because then we don't owe taxes. But that means you didn't pay into Social Security, which means that your Social Security check is going to be about zero. And I
Mm-hmm.
know that for a fact because, well, mine is not a zero because I worked for about 15 years and then I've been in business ever since. So and I made good money those 15 years that I worked. So, and I don't mind saying it. My Social Security check is $1,000. I don't mind saying it, and for having worked my entire life, 30 still working, that is just ridiculous. One of the reasons that it's so low is that all over the years, I didn't have a great accountant that advised me, look, even if you lost money, still pay into your Social Security so that you can, when you get to be 62, 65, whatever, you will have a nice size check. I was never, ever, ever told that. And it could have been because, my husband had a great job. He was paying into it, you know, hey, but I would have liked to have known it so I could have made my decision of whether or not it was going to be better for me or not. And if I could go back, I would have done that,
Yeah, and
just
you
so I'd
also,
have more.
sorry to interrupt, but you also could have waited probably 5 years, which would have gotten you more per month.
Yeah, it was. It was only $200. So I kind of figured, I keep doing what I do now, with my business, and then at least one of the other things too that kind of scared me is we've had a lot of friends who kind of are not here to even get a dime of it,
Mm-hmm.
So we were like, well, my husband was like, I'm going to get something. But you are absolutely right. I mean, I cannot believe some of the pieces of information that you provided us with tonight. That is such eye-opening. And you know what else? It just makes common sense if you look at everything around you and the way things operate. So, but the most
It's
important
it,
thing I think I found from talking to you is that so many of these big stars have knowledge and they're, investing in the insurance industry. And you're absolutely right. That is an industry that's never going to go anywhere. So if you are, people are watching the show, they're rarely, hearing exactly what you said. The light bulbs come on. How much of an investment would they need to make to do the training, get the materials, take the test, and be on the other side? Okay, now I can either contract with someone else or start my own thing. How much of a upfront investment would they need?
less than $500.
Wow.
So think about that. People today are spending more money on an iPhone than to start their own business. which is amazing to me.
Me too.
So, it's all about money. So many people don't have life insurance because they think they can't afford it. Well, if you think about it, you actually cannot afford not to have life insurance with today's times. And the older you get, the more you become a possibility to be uninsurable.
Exactly. Yep.
Everyone's health can change within 6 months. And if that happens, you have to look at your family history. You know, um, are you subject to? Is it in the family? Is this hereditary? All of those factors need to be taken into consideration
And
because
the
if you
older
don't,
that you get, the more it costs.
yeah, but if the longer you wait, and if you do, God forbid, unfortunately come down with something, um, you're not going to be insurable because the contract that you have with the life insurance company is, you're basically betting against each other. And if you have some kind of an ailment and you don't have any coverage, and then you apply, they're not willing to take that bet.
Exactly. And also, one other point I wanted to ask you about, you really have to pay attention to your medical history because oftentimes when you, let's say, for example, you go to the doctor and you have to get an operation and you go into the hospital and your blood pressure kind of spikes because of, medications you may be on and the recovery process. That information goes into your medical record.
Mhm.
And at one point in time, you did have high blood pressure. May have only been that short period of time, but those factors play into the uh, insurance package that you may get because, and I could be wrong, I'm just asking, because the fact of the matter is your medical record does say that at one point in time you did have high blood pressure, or if you were a smoker, those kinds of things. You may have quit 35 years ago, but if it's in your medical record that you smoked at one time, how do all what's the best practice for filling out those forms without, because if you lie, you really like omit it completely. I mean, can you do something about that if if you did smoke 40 years ago and you've been smoke free for 40 years? How can it work? How can it benefit you, or is it always going to be an issue?
Well, I'll give you an example. These are questions that they're these insurance companies ask, and I used to be a smoker myself. I wrote it down. I wrote down when I quit. Both of my parents unfortunately passed away of cancer, so they looked at that, and this is for most recently after we got married. I got another policy with my wife, and I didn't get the best rating
I got another
because
policy.
I'm 55 years old, 4 years older than my wife, and I'm a former smoker, and both my parents passed away of cancer. At the time,
Yeah.
colonoscopy scheduled coming up, and they wanted to wait until the colonoscopy, even though I had a clean bill of health. Um, they wanted to wait till after the colonoscopy just to make sure. And I understand where they're coming from. I do. But the blood work and the meds that you do before you go into this contract with an insurance company will tell. And if you say you're not a smoker on the application and they find out with your blood that you are a smoker, then it just drops down your rate class is all. They're not going to drop you. Most companies won't drop you.
Oh, okay. They just don't. Okay. What about if it's in your initial application before they? What if you say that and it's in the initial application? Will they deny you or no?
No, no, you just become in the class of nicotine as opposed to non-nicotine.
Oh, okay. All right. Good. All right. So now I know you recommend obviously the career path that you have entered. I believe you told me it's been a couple of years now. I want to talk about what you did before this. You have an exciting, diverse career. Tell us a little bit about that.
Um, well, I actually went to college as a broadcasting major. I was a television and radio sportscaster for about 5 years. And then I personally got into the entertainment industry in '93. And, I do this insurance business with my wife. We also manage a bartending business that I have, which is called So in Any Event Bartenders and Event Staff. And I'm still an actor and I do voiceover work.
One of them is well, let me just be. We don't want to talk about it. I'm going to go ahead and play it, and then once we play it, you can actually give us a little bit of more detail. So here we go.
As America's veterans face challenges, DAV is there, helping veterans of every generation get the benefits they've earned, so they can reach victories great and small. Support more victories for veterans. Go to DAV.org.
Kind of sounds like you.
Yeah, it kind of does. But, with so many voiceovers that I've done, I would play for family and friends. And the first thing they would say is, "That's not you." I'm like, yeah. Thank you very much for playing that. I've been the voiceover for DAV for the last 6 years, and it's been an honor to represent such a great organization. And if anyone has extra money, or if they're a veteran or a disabled veteran, it's a great organization to donate to. And it's one of the many people that I've done voiceover work for, and it's always been nice to work with them. During the pandemic, they asked if I could do a couple spots pro bono, and I said sure, absolutely. So I recorded them right on the other side of this panel here, this curtain, from my other computer, and it was a campaign to get people to donate to disabled American veterans that all of a sudden hit this wall, couldn't work, had no income stream during the pandemic, and I was very happy to help out.
Definitely. Thank you, because they need all the help anybody can give them. Do you talk to them as well? Are they part of your client base with the insurance? Because I know that's a big issue. Um, for veterans that may have some issues from serving, and is it difficult for them to get insurance, or are they, do they? I mean, I would hope that it would be an exception for them. I think if you serve in the forces, anything that the country can give you, you should get for free. I mean, you went over there to defend us, but that's
I
just my opinion.
totally agree with you. I think they should be treated as anybody in the government, Congress,
Absolutely.
but unfortunately, that's
Housing,
not the case.
insurance, the
Yeah.
job, the everything. And I
Yeah.
have to tell you, that's not the case from my little small perspective, because I'm not sure if I told you, but I'm a private vocational school, and we're approved by the New Jersey Department of Education and Maryland. And one of the things that we do is we provide training programs to unemployed, and you have to get your credential with the VA in order to accept their loan process. I can't tell you how many veterans kind of just sign up for that program. Just that's the only way they can get a stipend. I'm like,
Mhm.
are you kidding me? And then on top of all of that, in order for them to go through the regular process of getting a training grant through the local channels, if for some reason they've used their VA money, and now they find themselves in a situation where they may need to go back to school for some schooling, and they've used whatever they had before, so they go through the regular channels,
Mhm.
they do not exercise them through. They got to do what everybody else has to do. Take a stupid TABE test, go through job search. I even had one guy, he was denied and this is a true story. He was denied because he didn't re-enlist. He had enlisted like 3 times. His wife was on like their 3rd child, and he missed most of his 1st and 2nd child's everything. And she said, "Look, enough is enough. We got 3 kids. I need you here. The other ones are getting older, blah, blah, blah." And they would not give him extended unemployment because they said he basically quit his job. I
Yes.
let the guy go to school for free. I did. And he had no money. We would feed him every day. Everybody would chip in and buy him lunch and, any school supplies. We took care of him those 12 weeks he was at our school because we could not believe, and we just couldn't believe it. So everybody in the school chipped in and made sure he had lunch and everything he needed. It was just
That's
sad.
great.
It was sad.
Speaking of giving away, if you don't mind, I'd like to offer anyone who would like a little financial analysis of what you have going in your life. Any 401ks that you have that are just sitting in a bank. Believe it or not, 401ks and pensions they're not what they used to be. And right now, $17 trillion is just sitting in people's 401ks. If you're looking for an opportunity to roll that into something very prosperous for your retirement, contact me. You can email me at the website there. And the consultation, there's no charge. Let's just talk about what you have. If you have something that's in a good situation, a good position, I'll be the first to tell you, leave it alone. You're in good shape. But if you have something that we could make better, I'll suggest it to you. So I look forward
Well, I
to.
appreciate that. I'm gonna go ahead and open this up and put the website so it doesn't scroll, so people can kind of jot it down. Everybody knows that it'll be on Facebook as well. And I'll put it in the comments section. And pretty much the idea of to me in knowing exactly what your financial status is, because most people think that hey, I've got this, I've got this, I've got that, I'm pretty safe. And oftentimes in finance and anything else, you don't find out about your insurance. You get in a car accident, God forbid something happens to the house, there's flooding, fires, and most of the time we don't find out where we really stand until a disaster happens. So I encourage our listeners he's giving it to you for free. He'll take a look at your financial profile and tell you where your weaknesses are. So really pretty much don't wait until the fact that, here you are with the problem now. And I'll put that up there so it'll stay. You got the issue now, and you find out that you've got some problems. You want to be proactive instead of reactive, because these
Or
are just trying
non-active.
times, or not active at all. Exactly. And these are trying times when we have to know our financial picture. We have to know how much money's going in and how much is going out. And then we've also, with this show, shown you, what if you're our age, 62, 63, 64, or maybe you're in your 50s, or maybe you're just, a stay-at-home mom, or you are, a college, you're in a college dorm and you need that extra income. I always tell young people, when you go to college, get as many certifications as you can get, because one, in 10 years, they may be millions of dollars as opposed to free while you're on the college campus, and you don't know what life is going to bring to you, and that credential may come in handy. So everybody from college kids to high school children, get kids that are about to graduate to 60-year-old in between. This is an opportunity to spend $500 or less to get a credential that will only earn you money without the threat of disappearing.
And just to piggyback on what you're saying, here's the most recent example I can give you. My Uber driver last night, 63 years old, just got back from Armenia, was there for 14 months. He makes a chunk of money, then goes back to his country, has two older kids in their 30s. I started getting into a conversation with him. Again, 63 years old, driving Uber to make money, has no retirement accounts, doesn't have life insurance. He thinks his wife does. And I said, look, you live right down the street. Let's set up something. I'd be more than happy to help you. But he's like, I don't know if I want that. I said, well, you can't outlive your money and you can't work for the rest of your life. And just remember, I mean, I tell this phrase to everybody, it's never too late to grow wealth. You know, and I was trying to get him in the conversation. How much could you save each month? But more importantly, if you're 63, most people that age want to leave a legacy for their kids. In this situation, his kids are old enough to be figuring out something for themselves. And if they haven't, I'd love to help them as well. But this two married couple really needs to take care of themselves because retirement is knocking on the door. I mean, it's right around the corner. And unfortunately, he's still working.
Yeah, and Uber, I'm not saying it's dangerous, but anything could happen.
Yep.
You know, life is about planning, and you have to plan for retirement. I mean, some people do it good and some people do it bad. I'll tell you quickly two stories. My mom, she came out at 62. She paid off all her bills. She made sure that her debt ratio was almost zero. Her house was paid for, and that she could comfortably live off her Social Security. And the reason she couldn't wait at that time, it was 65. So this was some years ago. She couldn't wait to 65 because of her health. You know, she was working in the casino in New Jersey and doing a lot of walking every day as a security guard. And the at that time they could smoke. The smoke was killing her. It was just killing her. The doctor told her if she stayed there another day, you know, God only knows what she had. She had all kinds of things. So she had to get out. And so she, you know, she told the doctor, you know, how long could she go? And he gave her like, you know, 12 months or something like that. And she worked overtime. She did everything she had to do. Came out at 62 and then she retired. She took off about 6 months and then she came to work in our school and loved every minute of it. That was one story, successful story. I had a friend had a really, really lucrative job and it was up for retirement. He retired early. He went out and bought a fast action car, did all this, you know, improvements to the house and all that, and then found out that his Social Security and the new entrepreneur opportunity that he thought he would have, it didn't work out. He had to go get a job, working harder than he was with the first job, making substantially less money. I looked at those two models and I told my husband, I said, we are definitely not going to be leaning towards you, you know, either one of us. Now, you know, I'll still work because I love teaching. I love, you know, it's all virtual now. It's just a no-brainer to keep doing it. But we will not go punch a clock anywhere. I never did anyway, but for him, you're not going to punch a clock anywhere. I mean, you got to plan this stuff. You got to figure out, just like you did your career, you got to figure out how you can take your second career of retirement because it is a career. It has to take planning and it has to take someone that kind of knows the financial world and can give you some sound advice, such as Peter Michael. So the great news is he's in Burbank, California, but it doesn't matter if he was sitting right next to you in your living room. You'll still get the same advice.
We have licenses. We're licensed in several states throughout the country.
Yeah. So, and the good news is, you know, Peter is a very decent guy. If he can't help you in one of those states, he will recommend somebody who can. but the recommendation is to get the information. So I thank you, Peter. I really appreciate the fact that you came on and spent some time to giveaway. Everybody go to his website and email him, get in contact with him. Even if you just have some questions, his value to the show is enormous, and that value is extended to our listening audience. So please take advantage of it. And again, Peter, thank you. Tell your lovely wife we said hello, and thank you for letting you do this. And
it was a pleasure. Thank you.
You're 6 o'clock. No, you're 5 o'clock. So you still got plenty of time to have a good time.
Yeah, I'm off now, light. But I'm going to go work out.
Okay. Thanks again. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Have a great night.
You too. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining the show. We really enjoyed the information that Peter provided for us. And not only was it educational, but it was an opportunity. It's one thing to receive education and information, but then to be afforded an opportunity as well to grow not only your financial platform, but to also increase your extra money coming into the household. So how could you go wrong? And this is the kind of show that TByrd Live is. We want to give every business a voice so that not only can they help other entrepreneurs, but help customers and clients as we always do on this show. So we appreciate you and we look forward to seeing you next week. Have a good day.